was always the Jags.
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 Welcome into Always the Jags, your podcast for everything Jacksonville, everything Jaguars, everything Duval. I know this podcast is called Always the Jags, and we may not be feeling like it's always the Jags, but it still is. It still is. You can take these losses in one of two ways, right? So obviously we lost to the Rams pretty badly, 35-7. The game was kind of closer than the score indicates, but not really. But if you look at it, we had more yards than the Rams. The Rams didn't need to get that many yards because we kept turning it over on fourth down. But again, if you look at the game just in itself, or like where we're coming from, we just lost to two Super Bowl contenders. We lost back-to-back games to Super Bowl contenders. Now, the Seahawks were a little bit more competitive, and a lot of people weren't sure if the Seahawks would be Super Bowl competitors, but the Rams are a pretty popular matchup for some people to make the Super Bowl. Now, they had looked vulnerable, and I think it's safe to say that we're not in the same class of the Colts right now. Daniel Jones is just playing better ball. We would be if Trevor Lawrence was playing like Daniel Jones, but the Colts hung with the Rams. We didn't, right? So, I mean, it's pretty clear the Colts are going to be the favorites to win this division, and now we're kind of looking at it as like we got to avoid being swept by the Colts, which is kind of what we thought we were going to do earlier this season. We thought we might sweep them, but now we have to avoid being swept. So it's a tough circumstance, in a lot of different ways. But the Jaguars were 4-3 going into the bye. Most of us didn't think that was going to be the case for the season, right? Like, we can at least accept that. On my picks for the season, I had us at a very hopeful 3-4, but probably 2-5. And we're 4-3. Now, 5-2 sounds way better. And not trying to butter up the Jags or be like, hey, it's not that bad when it was bad in London, right? But the issue is just we didn't correct any of the mistakes that we noticed that we were having in our earlier games. And that, dropping that game to the Bengals is really going to hurt. And the thing that was different about this season, because like in 2023, like if you look, the thing that's so hard about Trevor, there's so many things to start. The thing that's so hard about Trevor is he now has victories. He has beaten Josh Allen head-to-head twice. He's beaten Patrick Mahomes. He's beaten Justin Herbert head-to-head twice. He's beaten, who else has he beat? And he's beaten Lamar Jackson head-to-head. So Trevor has some of these great victories on his belt. But it's just the consistency. Sometimes we run into a team that's just like a buzzsaw and there's nothing we can do. And, that doesn't really happen to the great quarterbacks. Like Josh Allen and the Bills don't really get blown out. They got blown out by the Ravens a couple of years ago. But then that was kind of the difference. Like in our 2023 season, we were winning by like one score. We were beating teams. We weren't necessarily beating them down, but we were winning. And then like we faced the 49ers and absolutely got obliterated. But we were still in the mix for the number one seed in the AFC, even though we got obliterated. And before the Rams game, that was kind of the hallmark on the season. Like, okay, even though we've had 2 losses now and the Seahawks went at home, it didn't feel great. Like it wasn't good. But hey, we didn't get blown out, which is kind of typical of Jaguars in the past. And we hung around and we fought, right? Let's see that. And then you feel a lot better, because I think we would feel a lot better about this game if it was, 28-21, if we had been able to put some points on the board and get something positive. But that one touchdown came in garbage time when the game was already out of reach. And so let's dive into the game a little bit, because again, the thing that the Jaguars keep doing in these games, even in the games that we've won, is just slow starts by the offense. It takes so long to get it going. And it's so weird to have, and those slow starts to a game, like you can have a hot start to a season, but the slow starts to the games will start to haunt you over and over and over again. Like the Rams had a hot start and then they cooled off dramatically on offense. but because they had already had the hot start, they were still able to keep up and win. And, it's eerily similar to the 2018 season when the Jaguars, came off, all that AFC championship. And then our second game of the season, I don't think we blew out, but we kind of dominantly beat the Patriots, a Super Bowl contender team. If you make the championship, you're a Super Bowl contender, right? And so Jaguars, now this year, coming off a win against a Super Bowl contender, we lose in a pretty glaring fashion, I would say, to two other Super Bowl contenders. And now that the Chiefs have Rashee Rice back and it looks like their offense, a lot of people are questioning, would the Jaguars have been able to even beat the Chiefs if Rashee Rice was in the game? But again, that's neither here nor there. Rashee Rice is back, whatever. So the thing is, we're back at that point where we're having those slow starts on offense. And 3 and outs, like, it's one thing to not be able to score, but you can't do 2 3 and outs to start a game. We had 2 3 and outs. The Rams picked up a first down on their first play from scrimmage. And that's the part, like, we can't have Trevor, like, trying to figure out the offense or, and I think that's partly why Brendan Strange is not there, too. Because, like, if you look at the way we start the game, Matthew Stafford, even the announcers noticed, like, he was trying to, like, feel out the defense, and he kind of was hitting check downs, doing runs. He wasn't really going for, like, chunk, big, explosive plays. He was kind of feeling them out, taking what the defense was giving you. And Trevor had an opportunity to do the same thing, but just either guys would drop the ball or Trevor won't hit them in the right spot. And I just saw a post that perfectly described it. Either Trevor throws a ball that is completely misses an open target and can't hit him at all, and he has no way to get to the ball, whether it's like wide right, too high, too low, whatever. Then Trevor hits a receiver right in the hands, and he drops it. And then we run the ball and get stuffed, or we get called for illegal formation. Someone catches it and we get called for an illegal formation penalty. And that's been our offense this whole year. And the sad part is like, it's just lack of execution. Like, if you just do the basic things, the offense will work. That's the part that's driving me insane. And like, in Doug Peterson's scheme, I think in Liam Coen's scheme, it's a little more complicated to get guys open. But again, remember, Doug Peterson's scheme stopped working after a little bit. Like, it got stale. It didn't have. I think the complication of Liam Coen's scheme allows it to adapt to different defenses and continue to stay fresh and continue to stay innovative to get guys open, because you kind of need new ways to get guys open. Doug Peterson would scheme them open, but then defenses would clue in, and he had no answers for that. Like, it feels like Liam Coen has answers. It's just the players have to make the plays. Like, this is the one time where I would agree, like, the players need to make the plays. Or maybe Liam Coen, it could be on both. Like, maybe Liam Coen needs to simplify it more in order to make the offense run better. But I don't know how simplifying it is going to change a bad throw or a throw that's just not accurate. Or how is simplifying the offense going to make it easier for you to catch a ball that hits you right in the hands? Like, I just don't get that. And the Rams marched up and down the field. And they did whatever they wanted, even without Puka Nacua. Like, you would think 35-7, okay, maybe if Puka Nacua probably went crazy. How bad would this game have been if Puka Nacua was actually playing? The Jaguars have been in London all week. They looked jet lagged. They looked more jet lagged than the Rams, who came over that same, like, a day before. So, I mean, Liam was pretty forgiving in the Seahawks loss. We can take it and learn from it and grow from it. I don't know. Based on his personality, I could see him kind of tearing into the Jaguars for this loss, because this one kind of feels like you need to be ripped. Not because, and again, it's just like basic execution, just catching the ball. Like, there's a difference between when you get beat by another guy, right? But when you're not making the throw, or when the ball is hitting you and you're dropping it, you're beating yourself. And like, it's the easiest thing in the world to fix. You just don't do it. We knew the Rams defense was going to be a problem for our offensive line. That defensive line is just as good as the Seahawks. They held up a little bit better. I think Robert Hainsey being back helped out not necessarily because Jonah Monheim is bad, but I think he just knows protections and stunts and blitzes and things like that, and kind of helped out where guys needed to go. But like Walker Little had a better game than that disaster against the Seahawks. Anton Harrison is playing a little bit better. I think since he got banged up since the Chiefs, he hasn't been the same. Patrick McCarry, like over the bye, it might be time for a tough question because that's the third or fourth week in a row where he's put up a kind of a clunker. And he's I think the highest paid guy on our line. I don't know if he's getting 12. I think Walker Lowe might be the highest guy because he's getting 15. And it's the thing I don't like. And I banged the table for us to keep Walker Little. I banged the table for us to start him over Cam Robinson and let Cam Robinson go. I banged the table for us to draft him. So like, I know obviously the Jaguars brass didn't listen to me, but like, it feels like a personal, like a personal letdown. Like I vouched for you, and you give up 3 sacks against the Seahawks, and I don't know what it is. Like he's playing so much worse this year after he got the bag. And like I don't understand what happens to players or like what goes through it or the mindset, but like so many players after they get paid, whether that's um extended or signed in free agency, they just fall off. And it's not like, again, there's always a natural fall off when you get older, right? But this is Walker Little's like first contract. He's just out of his rookie. He finished his rookie deal. This is his first contract in the NFL. This should be your prime that you're hitting. You should be better than all the years that you were before. Now, a lot of players, it's hard for them to live up to that, sometimes. But I'm not understanding it. And if he keeps playing poorly, it's going to be a problem. Now, I think it's easier to replace, when you have a higher paid tackle and a higher paid guard. It's better to be able to replace those guys with somebody else that's already on your roster. But at this point, yeah, maybe try Jonah Monheim at guard because he played well at center. And if he can play better than Patrick McCarry at guard, that's a better option because Trevor needs more time. And even if Trevor gets more time, he needs to see the open players on the field. And I don't know if Liam Cohen's offense is like giving him, like I think Doug Peterson's offense also kind of gave him a lot of answers. So it was kind of like you always know who the open man is based upon the scheme. So even if you go through your reads, there's one guy that's going to be open. So you can go through your reads, like you're starting on your first, second, but the third read is going to be open based upon the play. So the answer is in the scheme. You don't have to think about, okay, who should I hit that's open? I think in Liam Cohen's scheme, especially with Baker Mayfield, you have multiple options. It kind of depends on who gets open. So your first read might not be open, but your second read might be open, or your third read might be open. And I don't know if Trevor's just not used to having the answer, or I mean, he's changing the plays at the line too. So there were so many plays where he had Travis Hunter wide open, and even Travis Hunter got a little, frustrated. Now it was still a good day for Travis Hunter, and I'm glad I started him in fantasy. 101 catches, no, sorry, 8 catches, 101 yards, and got his first NFL touchdown. But like that drive that we had where he went down and scored, it was too late because the Rams had already went up 28-7. And like that tempo they were doing, that was kind of catching the Rams on their heels a little bit. It's like, why didn't we see that 2 or 3 drives ago? Why did the urgency not kick in until you're down 28-0? Why didn't that urgency kick in on the first play from scrimmage? Hey, let's go score fast. And people were wondering, like, why are they playing hurry up right now? They don't really need to. And I think it's just because it was working. Like the commentators were saying, like, I don't remember who it was. He's like, I don't know why the Jaguars are playing hurry up. They still got time. But the hurry up was working because it was catching the Rams defense on their heels. Because we need to move quicker and with a sense of urgency to get down the field. Right now, it felt very lackadaisical. And that urgent feeling is what made our offense go for a little bit. And then, of course, the pressure's on, and you can't get anything on those fourth downs. So it's very rough. If it was scheme, like Urban Meyer was scheme issues. But Doug Peterson, it started to be scheme issues, started to be losing the locker room. It started to be, kind of a talent issue. There were some issues in talent where like our guys just weren't beating their guys. But here we are. James Gladstone has brought in the talent. Liam Coen has brought in the scheme. And from what I'm seeing, this is not a talent issue, nor is this a scheme issue. I mean, I guess it's more of a talent issue technically. But the guys have, if the ball hits you in your hands, that means the scheme worked. And that means that you were able to get open. And it means that you were able to beat your man. So you have the talent to beat your man and get open. The problem is you just didn't catch it. And like at this point, if I see one more drop pass on the season, if I'm Liam Coen, I'm bringing in a new wide receivers coach. Like that guy might be his buddy, and I get it, and it probably would be tough. But I'm bringing one in because this is ridiculous. Like I'm not going to say we only lost this game because of drop passes, but we have a very different season if guys just catch the ball. So let me know your thoughts. How the Jaguars played against the Rams, how we're going to fare against the Raiders. And then next week, I think I'll talk about any moves that I would have James Gladstone make and what the future kind of holds. So, and never forget, it was always Jags, even when it wasn't. Thank you so much for watching Always the Jags. Make sure you like and subscribe down below. Check out some of these other videos that I'm sure you'll be interested in as we chase Duval greatness. Thank you for joining us again, and until next time.